to talk about something very important before Lumi has her little episode in a little while, and because it is much, much more important than hearing about Lumi's biography. As you know, the UK is now mandating that people must submit state or government issued ID to get access to the internet. Now, I bring it up here because the United States already had, in part, implemented this. It's called COPPA, the Child Online Protection Act. Now, COPPA in the United States is something where content creators had to clarify if the content was for adults or children. It also required that children's content was to be treated separately than adult content. The United States, adding to what UK is doing with ID, can say, well, you know what? You have to show real ID before we're going to let you access YouTube adult content. But what does that mean? Well, basically, in short, it means that everybody will be treated as a child under the age of 18 unless two things apply. For adult content creators like myself that do shows on YouTube, you're probably not going to have too much problem because you can always look at your ID on your face and you can see that this is not a child's face. However, at the same time, this same law is going to allow content creators that do not show IDs, i.e. faceless channels, are going to find themselves required to show American real ID. One of the other possible ideas to show was something called a credit card. I'm going to tell you something about this. Never, ever, 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 ever put your credit card online in any database. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is if you have a real ID, that's fine because that's a government issued ID and that's already in a database and can be verified by scanning your picture and your face recognition. But if you show your credit card, then you just open up your entire wallet to be cleaned up by scammers and slammers and bad people. Okay, not good. So what I want to try to explain to you is here's how it's going to affect you, the content creator. If you have multiple accounts and you try to show the same picture ID on your multiple accounts, YouTube can determine how many fake multiple accounts you have and could shut down every single one of them, claiming you're in violation of terms of service. So you need to, one, make sure that, one, you're being honest and showing a real ID. But if you have to show the same real ID on multiple troll accounts, then not be aware that they're going to go ahead and more than likely start throwing your multiple troll accounts in the skip. It's just going to happen. Okay? Number two, for content creators that are faceless, this means that, well, now they have a picture of what you look like, and they had to have that anyway to pay you through your AdSense. They already have my real ID. I sent them that some time ago when someone was trying to impersonate me, so they have my ID on file at YouTube. But that brings the next question up. How are you going to prevent somebody ID from not falling into the dark web, so it can be copied, duplicated, addresses stolen, email, phone numbers stolen, license ID numbers being stolen. Okay? So the whole idea of if they want to improve on COPPA in the United States means that there's going to be a database where your information is going to end up stolen. I look at something that happened to Social Security. It's the same thing. Something like 45 million Social Security's records were stolen and put on the dark web. Does that mean that if you're going to have everybody taking pictures of their IDs and sending it to YouTube / Google / Facebook / WhatsApp, Instagram, Steam, that somebody cannot steal your ID? If you think your ID is going to be safe from being ripped off, I got a bridge for sale. They already have done it with Social Security numbers. So therefore, your ID can be stolen just as easily. That's one reason why, when they say, oh, go ahead and send this credit card. No, that doesn't solve a problem because now your credit card's out in file and someone can steal that. You see what I'm saying? So that does not solve the problem either. Especially the new ones that are unembossed credit cards. Because everything is in the back of the cards, eh? So that means that now your number, your CVV code, your expiration date is embossed in the back of the card, is printed on it. All it takes is that much information and someone can clean you out. And if you have fake accounts, like I said, those fake accounts are going to be spotted and removed. Especially important if your account was banned initially on YouTube for violation of terms of service. The minute you have to show real ID, you are going to have your account is going to be reflagged. It's belonging to an account that was banned, and your account is going to be banned again. Okay, now I've never been banned on YouTube, so I've been fine. I've been fine too, but I don't have a real ID. Right. So what do? I don't know. But then again, if they scan our faces, because we are a faced channel, they would see that we're adults because we're not kids, because we don't have kids' faces. Right. And that was what they originally were going to do, was scan based on the content you watched. But that's false positives, because this is going to start on August 15th in the United States. And so that needs to be kept in mind, that this is a real thing. It's talking to Lumi, who lives in Center, right? Is it pink? What is intersex? Intersex is hermaphrodite. Is a person that has both male and female anatomy. They're born this way, where it's our biological condition. There's a medical condition. Yeah, it's a medical one. And so now, tonight Lumi is going to be talking about her backstory at in this show in a little bit. But I just wanted to particularly talk about the censorship and this ID thing right now. And then, then end this stream so Lumi can come on and do her show about 7 o'clock. Also, the Steam protests against the payment processors of MasterCard and Visa is causing MasterCard and Visa a lot of consternation right now, that they are being swamped because of the policies of saying that they are not going to allow payment for Steam games that have adult or spicy content. People have been protesting that as well. So does that mean that they're going to backtrack and change the rules? I have no idea. But I think in this case, since it is not a government entity doing this, that I think you might see some changes. Okay? So now, because of the way the internet is being portrayed as security is not going to be good, people are going to be stealing IDs, people are going to be stealing birth certificates, people are going to be stealing credit cards. Again, do not use a credit card for ID. Okay? Number one, that'll empty your bank account real quick. And second of all, most credit cards don't have a photo of you. So therefore, and they're not a government issued ID. So if you have real ID in the United States, use the real ID. If your ID doesn't have the gold star, i.e. it is not a real ID, okay? You need a real ID anyway for traveling within the United States, on Amtrak, plane, going to federal government buildings, as a plaintiff or defendant. You need a real ID to go on to military bases. Even if you have a government military ID, you still need real ID anyway. But now the question is, who is keeping these systems safe? Because remember, Social Security was hacked last year, or earlier this year. And Social Security was hacked. Over 50 million credit card numbers and account information got out in the dark web. So it's not going to take no rocket scientist to say, oh, real ID database will be hacked too. And for those people who like to create anonymous troll accounts on YouTube, your trolling days are going to come to an end. Because if you got to show real ID to be considered an adult, you're not going to be able to troll. You're not going to be able to watch channels that are considered all adult channels either. The kind of channels you guys like to troll. The minute you submit ID for that, and you submit ID for your real account channel, and you submit IDs, the same ID for every one of those channels, YouTube, under their terms of service, is going to say, you're spoofing accounts, and they can decide to terminate all of them. That's scary. Now, I think we should talk about that. But I did promise Lumi that she could talk tonight on her a little bit. Gridlock, the big. Gorlock the big. Beautiful says, okay. Burning channel plans and Grizz. Whatever. Remember to hit the likes, people. This is not a very long show. This is just letting you know how the North American Snow Queen feels about this. And the fact is that you are actually putting yourself out there and putting yourself at risk by giving your ID. But you have to. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to be treated like a child. What does that mean? That means you can use the YouTube Kids app, but you will not be able to access any content on YouTube that is adult channels. You will not be able to save your playlists. You will not be able to, you'll be told when to go to bed at night. You'll be told when to get up in the morning. Your account will say you need to talk to your parents for permission to expand hours and times. You'll no longer have personalized ads. I know some of you probably wish you didn't have to deal with the ads, but oh well, that's ads for you. It's not a good thing, okay? Now, if you already want those services, you could have already applied as a kid and gotten away with it, no problem. But for troll accounts, this is going to be bad news for you guys. Okay, just trying to explain what's going on here. No. So, their ears. Yes, those are ears. I'm also trying to protect you from getting basically overrun by a system that doesn't care about you. Next thing, I didn't want to talk about this today, but we are going to talk about it today. We had a good morning show until something came up, which I want to remind my mods nicely. When somebody does something stupid, I don't care what it is, and it spills over to my channel, and people are being hurt because of the actions of these supposedly adult mods, that upsets everybody, and instead of talking to the individual off camera, you bring it on the open on my show. You're upsetting my audiences. You're disrupting the energy. And people don't like this. They don't like this. They don't like when you are talking. Oh, thank you very much. Very much. Thank you ever so much. Thank you very much, Noodles. No, Noodles, there's no phone lines, but thank you anyway. I'm just trying to tell you is, I want to keep you safe, but the UK law goes a lot further than America law. And the UK has been cracking down like crazy on internet access, including censoring speech. As an American, and thank goodness I don't live there, why the UK Parliament has done this is not clear. But they're just adding on to the draconian control. The United States is more than likely going to expand its COPPA, its Child Online Privacy Protection Act, and start cracking down, requiring real ID, or you can't be on YouTube. It's coming, okay? It's coming. It's already happening in other countries, so please be aware of this. And I don't want to see you guys suffer unduly because you don't have ID. You should have gotten real ID by now. You should have applied for it if you're American. You should have it. I have it. I have my gold star ID. I'm all set there. But who's going to maintain the database? And how are we going to protect legitimate IDs from not being spoofed and stolen? There's got to be a system that is going to make sure that people are not going to have identity theft running rampant once all of our real IDs end up in the database. But like I said, never give a credit card. Even if they say, oh, you don't have a picture ID, you should miss a credit card. Bad choice. Don't do that. Never, ever give out a credit card number on the internet. Because there are people that are dishonest and they will steal it and then they'll run away with it and they'll use it and they'll spend it. And then all of a sudden, you get slammed with the charges. Then you have to file for fraud protection. Then you have to wait for a whole new credit card to come in. But the whole idea of the internet being no longer anonymous, it can be good and bad for the reasons I mentioned earlier. People who have legitimate reasons to have multiple YouTube accounts are going to be the first to face the pain because they have legitimate accounts. So YouTube's own database is going to go, gee, you say you're John Doe, and this, yet you say the credit card says Jimmy Doe. And you say you're Susie Smith, and yet you're logging in as Jane Doe. So, who are you? Your real ID says you're Jane Doe, but you're logging in as Susie Smith. Therefore, the Susie Smith account is no longer valid because your ID says you're not Susie Smith. Unless you submit a certificate of legal name change, then maybe they may go, oh, that's okay. But that means the original the Jane Doe account will have to be deleted because that no longer is your legal name. See what I'm saying? So everything is all messed up. Everything. All because some bureaucrat, some politician thought this will protect their children. Really? It doesn't protect adults. And I say, what if you were supposed to be a person because of government rules, like in probation says, thou shalt not use thy internet except under certain things in terms of your probation. And they see you're on an account and you're not supposed to be in. You're in violation of probation and could be have your account closed, and you will be forced to go back to prison for a violation of your terms of probation. This is going to be bad news for everybody. And that's why I'm saying that this is so important that I realize since I have 24,000 plus viewers last night when talking about my past, this is the kind of stuff that I'm going to use this method to get out to you. To let you know that we have to be careful because there's no protections from identity theft. Let's see, I need the comments real quick. Let's take a look here. Let's see. I will never get the real ID anyway. Well, then you will never be able to travel, go to a courthouse. You will have to eventually. Thank you very much, Noodles. I appreciate it. Thank you. Podcast, thank you for the super chat. Brain Dead. Gonna say Michelle's the best. Thank you. Hello, my queen. Hello to Kevin. How you doing? There's always a workaround. Control is futile. Yes, but again, I'm worried about the fact is that your IDs are going to be sitting in a database somewhere, and the bad guys are going to find a way to steal them. There's a security issue too. Evile says hi. Hi, how you doing? And let's see. A tree. Speaking of a tree, we haven't updated the giving tree in a while. That's the giving tree. It's been there for several years now. We need to update that. Eventually, I'm gonna get to it. Please, no racism, absolutely. And you are beautiful. The world needs kindness like you. Unfortunately, Kevin, I'm not that perfect. Unfortunately, can be a real douchebag sometimes, and not because I mean to be. It just happens. So, and because this is so important, I wanted to make sure you knew. I know there was a lot of channels that have done videos on it, but I just think that I'm just seeing red herrings all over the place for the whole what's going on. The UK, actually, Child Online Protection Partner Protection Act, or COPPA, is where it started a couple years ago. And I see this is going to continue on. I mean, the UK made the first move requiring real ID. The United States already had real ID on the books. So the United States is going to probably extend that requirement into COPPA. Now, what about the face channels like mine? Anybody can see I'm an adult. I'm not a kid. All I have to do is scan my face. Do you think YouTube isn't going to do that? Let's talk about that. YouTube, for face channels like mine, they're going to take a snapshot of your face. There you go. I got a picture of Michelle. Now I'm going to compare it to every single ID we have on file to see who she is. Oh, okay. I have her ID on file. Excellent. And she's born in 1968. Okay, she's an adult. Full adult access services permitted. Oh, wait. It's not the same face as Lumi's? Yeah. What's the difference? Not much. Maybe the brown wig. It's about all. That's about it. But I don't have an ID. Lumi doesn't have an ID. So what do we do with Lumi? We've been trying to get a social security number, trying to find out what legal ways we can get a separate ID for me. Like people say, why not a green card or whatever? We don't have one. We don't have one. So how can I get a real ID? You can't. No, that's a problem. Yes, it's a problem. And Lumi is the other one that has an account, has a channel. I also have the IC1 channel. That doesn't have a real ID either. But these are real problems, folks, that need to be addressed. And I don't want you to lose your accounts because of some snarling, complicated boondoggle of a law that's created that doesn't protect legitimate people. I don't want to see that happen to anybody. No, I do not. And I do not drink any sugar soda. The mind says beautiful. Sincere cocaine. Nope, I don't do that either. So what's the downside of this for the average person? The downside for the average person is, one, your ID is now stored in a database at Google. Google, unless they have really good security, can then determine what services you can and cannot access. For example, Google might say, unless you have a real ID, you can't have an email. Google could say, because you don't have a real ID, you can't use contacts, you can't use calendars, you can't use Google Meets, you won't be able to live stream. They can set the rules. Once they have the ID in there, they can start cracking down on what you can and cannot do. That's the crackdown. That's the reality of what's going to happen. And also, it may also result in any channel that's under 18 that is monetized, unless they have a waiver filed by the parents in a proper legal form, could cancel your monetization of your channel, because you can't be monetized without parents' consent if you're under 18. And like I said, if you have a lot of fake accounts, they're going to see your real ID and they're going to compare it when they verify every single one of your fake accounts. And then they're going to determine that those are fake accounts and they're going to throw them away. In fact, they may throw away every one of your channels, every one of them. Or you have to then go file an escalated, needing more legal documentation explaining why you need to have so many damn fake accounts. This takes away the so-called anonymity. It would be just like if you had to sign in with your real username and password on every single one of your accounts, and it'll show your real name instead of a nickname. So all the accounts that say, if your name is FrostyBit, well, now say, my name is James Smith. So every time you log in, you will no longer be known as FrostyBit, you'll be now known as James Smith in chat. That's how much it could get to the point where they could exploit the system. And the bad guys, as I said earlier, can do identity theft, as they already are doing now with the 50 million credit social security numbers that were leaked onto the dark web. That's not good either, because those people are concerned that somebody else is going to try to manipulate their benefits, because they can go into Social Security and say, hi, my name is John Doe, Social Security number is 04312345567. Regarding the new overpayment, I'm not paying it. You can go pound sand, and all of a sudden the real John Smith gets a message from Social Security saying, well, we're taking 100% of your check because this shows evidence that you are working when you're not. So again, that's the reason why we have to be careful with all of this. I love everybody. I don't want to see you hurt, but this system is going to hurt everybody innocently. Innocent people are going to be hurt. The guilty parties are going to find other ways to get around it and to continue to cause mayhem. Now to the Steam thing. I'm going to get to that too, real quick. Steam has been told by MasterCard and Visa that they are no longer paying for adult games that people bought on Steam. Steam is now deleting those games off their server. Customers who have paid for legitimate games are finding the games deleted in the library. They're rightfully upset. They contact MasterCard and Visa and say, hey, I paid legitimate money for those games. Well, we consider those games to be unsuitable, and we will no longer fund those games anymore. But it's already too late anyway. They already deleted the games off your Steam account, so you can sweat. You can't even reinstall them because they're gone. Again, remember the game, what was going on about the EU, about not killing no-kill video games? Well, guess what? They just killed a whole bunch. Just like that. Poof, 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 gone. Every one of them. Every one of them. And what do you got for? All I got is a lousy t-shirt. Not even that. You don't even get a t-shirt. You got an invoice that showed you used to play Debbie Does Texas or whatever. And that's it. That's all you have. But you can't get Debbie Does Texas anymore because that game is gone. That is a shame. That is a shame. Oh yes, the new Commodore 64 Commodore Corporation has been revived. They did come up with a new Commodore 64. It's selling for about the same price as the original Commodore 64 was back in 1983. But of course, it is a bit better chipset, but same feature set. It looks it still will work with the standard Commodore peripherals, except one thing. Where the user port is, your old 1650, 1660, 1670 HES modems, Mighty modems will not fit there because there's no longer a user port. Okay, but the Commodore serial port is still there. The video monitor is still there. They have an HDMI port. I don't know if they have an RF modulator. It still has cartridge slots. You can slip in your fast load cartridge. Still has 2 joysticks on the right side, in front of the power switch. Same keyboard. That's a thing, and just you can buy them for $299 for the basic, and up into a $599 Founders Edition, gold Commodore 64. So yes, the Commodore 64 is back, but let's just hope that they continue to make new accessories for this that will still work with your older Commodore 64. I have an old short board Commodore 64C, which unfortunately I broke my sound chip on it, so I can't get sound out of it anymore. And that's why I'm placing all those electrolytic caps on the board, especially in the power supply. That's going to be a thing that has to be done. So yes, the Commodore 64 name is back and it's going to have a new ticker symbol. Okay, China is, let's see, 2 genders, 2 souls, 1 body. Yep. Male and female at the same time. No, I don't really watch wrestling, so I can't say if wrestling really interests me, because it really doesn't. The games that are being delayed right now are games that Steam had that were games that they consider objectionable to Visa and MasterCard, including adult content games. So that's on Steam, and I'm not into adult games, but that's not the point. Somebody likes them, and they bought them, and they should be able to play them. So maybe what Steam should do is offer them a way that they can play those games independent of Steam. I'd be up to developers to do that, Michelle. It's not really up to Steam to do that. The developer of the game that people bought should offer an online solution to those people who bought the games. Yeah, that's the developer of the game that needs to do that. Alright, so Lemmy's going to be going live here on this channel about 7 o'clock. I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of what's going on. And so for now, I want to say, oh, you can't buy anything, Michelle. You are a welfare. No. I'm glad you guys now know what's going on, and I want to say thank you. Lumi will be live about 7 o'clock. I gotta turn the fan on in here. It's a little warm. It is a little warm because the sun was in the window, and so turn the fan on. But for now, I'll see you guys later on with Lumi. Lumi and maybe Carmen and me will be live during her history lesson. Yep. All right, guys. See you later in a little bit. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, guys.